Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I decided to do a deep dive, a breakdown of Olivia. And I haven't really committed to the title of this video, but basically this deep dive is going to deal with her psyche as a mother and why she feels it's okay to disconnect her kids from their father and why she takes ownership of her children. So this one is a little longer. I think you'll find it very fascinating. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it and let me know what you think. I will make one disclaimer. I basically uploaded a dossier on Olivia and I kind of regret putting in or adding to the dossier that the only way that Gerard at one point could see his kids is if he slept with Olivia, which is absolutely true. But I wish I had framed it more of if he came back to the marital home. In other words, got back into a relationship with her, if he had left Nisha, and also basically accepted the fact that she was having kids by other men. But it doesn't take away from the findings or the result of this case study. So let me know on the other end what you think about this. And remember, if you like this content, please like this video and considering joining the tribe. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are not just scratching the surface. We're excavating. We are unpacking a story that, I mean, if I pitched it to a Hollywood executive, they tell me it was too unrealistic.
Oh, completely. Too chaotic and, frankly, too exhausting to watch.
Right. But this isn't fiction. This is a real-world case study we've put together from a stack of observations, notes, and a lot of background information.
It really is a fascinating, albeit heavy situation. I mean, on the surface, it reads like a soap opera script, but when you peel back the layers, it's actually a psychological tragedy.
A tragedy is right. But before we get to the why, I want to make sure everyone understands the what, because the details here, they really matter. We're going to call the subject of today's deep dive Olivia.
Okay.
And Olivia's life is defined by a very specific, very intense loop regarding men and children.
Right. And to understand the psychology, we have to look at the timeline, because the timeline reveals the pattern. It's unmistakable.
Okay, so let's lay out what we're calling the Olivia stats. First, she has 3 older children. These are from her ex-husband. Now, usually, when people get divorced, there's a custody agreement, weekends, that sort of thing. But Olivia...
No, that's not her model.
Not at all. She refused to let the father see or participate in those children's lives unless he agreed to her terms. And her terms were, let's say, non-standard.
Non-standard is putting it politely. I mean, she essentially created a pay-to-play system. If he wanted to see his kids, he had to sleep with her. He had to submit to her sexual demands just to get access to his own progeny.
Which is just, it's wild. It's weaponizing the children to get, what? Intimacy, control.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But notice the dynamic there. It wasn't about, I love you, come back to me. It was, I own these children. If you want in, you pay the toll. The toll is me.
And eventually, that strategy... it backfired. She lost custody of those 3 kids to the ex-husband, but she didn't stop.
No, the war just changed tactics.
Yeah. When she has visitation, the notes say she actively tries to turn those kids against the dad. It's like she's running a constant PR smear campaign from her living room.
That's the scorched earth policy we see in these kinds of dynamics. If she can't own them, she'll try to destroy the connection to the quote-unquote rival owner.
But wait, there's more. That was just chapter 1.
Right.
After the husband, she has 2 more children, the middle children, by 2 different men. First one, a boy. She tells the father flat out, it's not yours.
A direct lie.
Lies right to his face. Excludes him completely. Then, for this tiny window, is about 6 months, she lets him in, but only when he's following her script perfectly. The second he deviates, gone, blocked.
Again, there's the pattern. The father isn't a partner, he's an employee who can be fired at will.
Then comes the next child. This one was from a hookup on a dating site. They weren't even really dating, just a fling.
So no established relationship at all.
None. They split up. She finds out she's pregnant, and what does she do? She blocks him. He's trying to call, trying to find out he's going to be a dad, and his number is just blocked. He only gets information if he gets on what she calls her program.
The program.
Yeah.
That's a key phrase here. It tells you everything about the power dynamic she's trying to establish.
And now, as we're looking at this, She is pregnant again. This is child number 6. And this is where the story goes from complicated to how is this even possible?
It really strains credulity.
During the conception window, she was with multiple men. She tries to pin the baby on the father of the youngest child, the hookup guy.
Right, the one she had blocked.
Yes. But, and here's the twist, he had a vasectomy. He literally could not be the father. So does she panic? Does she apologize?
No, of course not. That would require admitting a mistake.
She immediately pivots to another guy she slept with in that same window and says, congratulations, it's yours. And now she's doing the same push-pull thing with him, freezing him out, warming him up, total control.
She vows this is the last time after every single pregnancy, but the cycle just repeats. She freezes the fathers out, demands total submission, and operates on this core belief that she owns the children. The men are just incidental.
So here's the mission for today. We aren't here to gossip about Olivia, as tempting as that might be. We are here to figure out why a human mind works this way. And for that, we've pulled a stack of sources on Jungian psychology, analytical psychology, and family dynamics.
We're going to be looking at the father complex, the mother archetype, and the deep role of the unconscious.
And I want to be clear to you, the listener, we are not diagnosing Olivia. We can't. But we are using her behaviors as a map to explore these deep and honestly pretty dark psychological terrains.
We're asking the fundamental question: how does a psyche construct a reality where fathers are necessary for conception but are absolutely forbidden from participation afterward?
It feels like she wants the product, the baby, but she hates the machinery, the man that helped make it.
That's a very, very good way to put it. And to understand that, we have to start with the foundational concept here. We really need to talk about the father complex.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're in section 1, the mechanism of the father complex. Now, when I hear father complex, I immediately think of the pop culture idea of daddy issues. You know, the girl who dates older guys or is always looking for approval. But the source material uses the German term Vater complex.
Right.
Is there a difference, or are we just being fancy?
No, it's not just about being fancy. In analytical psychology, a complex isn't just a quirk or an issue. It's like a magnetic storm in the subconscious. Imagine a knot of emotions, memories, and perceptions that are all tangled together around a specific theme.
Okay, a knot. I can picture that.
And that knot has its own energy. It pulls things toward it. So in this case, the theme is the father. And that knot distorts everything.
So it's like a filter, a distorted lens she looks through.
Exactly. It's a pair of glasses that are glued to her face. She cannot see a man as he actually is. She can only see him through the warped lens of this complex.
So when she looks at, say, vasectomy dad or her ex-husband, she isn't seeing Steve or Dave. She's seeing what? A symbol.
She's seeing a function. And usually in cases like this where the behavior is so extreme, she's seeing a shadow. For women with what we call a negative father complex, the father is not a person with rights and feelings. He is a wounded or missing function in her own soul.
A missing function. What does that mean?
It usually stems from her own childhood. Maybe her father was a tyrant, maybe he was weak, or maybe he was completely absent. That first formative experience with the masculine principle was broken.
Okay, so if her dad was a tyrant, she grows up thinking all men are tyrants. Is it that simple?
It's deeper than that. It affects her animus.
The animus. Okay, this is a term we hear a lot in Jungian circles. Break it down for us. What is the animus?
So think of the animus as the inner man inside a woman's psyche. We all have masculine and feminine traits, regardless of our gender. The animus is the part of a woman that deals with things like logic, authority, boundaries, and navigating the outside world.
So like an inner CEO or a guide.
A benevolent CEO in a healthy psyche. A helpful guide. It's the bridge to the world outside the family nest. But for someone like Olivia, because of this powerful father complex, her animus is damaged. It's corrupted.
That's not a guide.
It's a demon. It's a shadow figure. Because her internal blueprint for man is broken, she projects that brokenness onto every man she meets.
So she assumes they are dangerous or maybe just useless.
Both, and often at the same time. This leads directly to what the texts call the pursuit of the seed.
That sounds incredibly primal, the pursuit of the seed.
It is primal. It's pre-relational. Look at Olivia's behavior during her conception windows. She's with multiple men in a very short period. She's pivoting from one to the other instantly when the vasectomy story comes out.
She isn't looking for a partner.
Not at all. She isn't looking for love or stability or companionship. She is hunting.
She's hunting for genetic material.
Correct. There is a deep unconscious hunger for potency and life force. but it's completely detached from the person providing it. She needs to fill a void inside her, and she believes a child will do that. So she strips all the humanity out of the carrier of the seed.
The man is just a delivery system.
That's it. And that explains the vasectomy situation so perfectly. She didn't care who the dad was, really. She just needed a dad to exist on paper to, justify the pregnancy to herself and the world when one delivery system failed.
Because of the vasectomy, right?
She just pointed the finger at the next available delivery system. It was that cold, that functional.
It's incredibly dehumanizing for the men involved, obviously, but psychologically, it's a defense mechanism for her.
It is. And this brings us to the next stage in the pattern, the act of devaluation.
The act of devaluation. This is the shift that happens after she gets what she wants, right? The positive pregnancy test.
Yes. Watch the timelines like clockwork. Before conception, she's engaging, she's sleeping with them, she's drawing them in. The moment the seed is secured, the moment that test is positive, the shutter comes down.
The man goes from necessary to threat, from a tool to an obstacle.
Exactly. The source material describes this almost like a ritualistic murder of the father. Not physically, of course, but psychically. She kills him off in her mind. He's no longer a person.
But why? Why turn against him so viciously? Wouldn't it be easier to have help? I mean, practically speaking, to have someone buy diapers or help with rent?
Practically, yes. Psychologically, absolutely not. Because keeping a father around requires negotiation. It requires sharing power.
It requires vulnerability.
It requires vulnerability. If Dave is just a sperm donor, Olivia is the queen. She has absolute power. If Dave is a father with rights and opinions, then Olivia is a partner. And to a woman with this complex, being a partner feels like being a victim.
Whoa, that's a huge distinction. So in her mind, partner equals victim.
If her internal unconscious definition of man is tyrant or abandoner, then letting a man have equal say in her life or her child's life means submitting to a tyrant. It's an existential threat. So she preemptively strikes.
She murders the father figure repeatedly to prove she doesn't need him.
She's reenacting a drama over and over, trying to win the argument she couldn't win with her own dad.
So she is achieving a retrospective victory.
Precisely. Every time she blocks a number, every time she lies about paternity, every time she denies visitation, every time she tells the kid, Daddy doesn't love us, she is screaming at the ghost of her own father.
I am powerful. You cannot hurt me. I am in control now.
It's stasis. She chooses control over growth because a real relationship is messy and unpredictable.
Yes, and this is the push-pull dynamic she does with the current guy. She freezes him out, then warms him up. Why?
To test him.
To check if he's still on the leash. To keep him in a state of confusion and dependency. She needs him close enough to be controlled and useful, but not so close that he becomes real. Not so close that he has power. This leads us right into section 2, and this is a concept that I think trips a lot of people up. The virgin mother. Now, Olivia has 6 kids by 4 or 5 different men. She is, by any definition, very sexually active. So when the psychologists in these sources call her a virgin mother, they clearly are not talking about chastity.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You have to get the literal religious definition out of your head entirely. In Jungian psychology, the archetype of the virgin means one in herself.
One in herself.
It refers to a woman who is psychologically autonomous to the point of complete isolation. She belongs to no man. She is not defined by her relationship to a man.
Okay, so it's like Wonder Woman on Themyscira, the Amazons, no men needed or allowed.
In a way, yes. It's an archetype of self-containment. The virgin is the soil that produces fruit without needing the gardener to stay and tend the garden.
Wow, that is Olivia to a T. That explains her statement that she owns her kids.
She believes, on some deep unconscious level, that she creates them ex nihilo out of nothing. Sure, she needs the biological spark, but in her mind, that's just a technicality, like flipping a light switch. The power comes from her.
So she creates this primitive, goddess-like self-sufficiency.
Yes, and it's a fortress.
Yeah.
This brings us to the paradox. She's hypersexual in the act of conception, but she's virgin in the act of relationship.
Right. She refuses the union. And this brings up a Scrabble word that was in the reading, syzygy.
Syzygy, S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y.
It sounds like a frantic text message. What does it actually mean in this context?
It's a term from astronomy, originally, for when 3 celestial bodies align, like the sun, moon, and earth, during an eclipse. But Jung used it to describe the union of opposites, specifically the sacred union of the masculine and the feminine principles.
Okay, like a battery. You need a positive and a negative pole to create energy.
That's a perfect analogy. For a battery to generate power, you need those opposite poles. The tension between them creates the energy. In a family, the masculine principle, which we can think of as logos, boundaries, law, order, and the feminine principle, eros, connection, nurturing, chaos, create a dynamic tension that helps a child grow into a whole person.
And Olivia is removing one of the poles.
She is cutting the wire to the negative terminal. She wants a battery with only one side. But a battery with one side creates no energy. It's inert. It creates stasis.
She refuses the friction.
Because friction hurts. Friction means you might be wrong. Friction means you have to compromise. Friction means growth, and growth is painful. By reducing the man to a sire, a biological tool, she avoids all that messy friction.
It's purely utilitarian. Thank you for your service. Now get out.
And notice how she treats the men who try to stay. The ex-husband. She demanded he sleep with her to see the kids. That wasn't about love or desire. That was about reestablishing dominance.
A power move.
A total power move. It's a way of saying, you are not a father. You are a service provider. And I set the price of your service. Your body is the price for seeing your children.
That is just chilling. It's reducing a human being to an object.
It's the ultimate defense. If you are an object, you can't hurt me. If you are an object, I can control you.
Okay, so we have the father complex, which creates the distorted lens, and the virgin mother archetype, which is the fortress she builds. But what about the mothering itself? Because on the outside, Olivia looks like, well, dedicated mom. She's always pregnant, always with the kids. But the sources use a term that is straight out of a horror movie. The devouring mother.
It is a dark term, but it's an ancient archetype. The gross mother, the great mother, has two faces. One face is the nurturer. She is life-giving. She gives milk. She gives comfort. The other face is the devourer. She swallows her creation back up. She consumes.
Like a praying mantis or a black widow spider.
Metaphorically, yes. It's what happens when a mother refuses to let her children become separate, autonomous people. She creates them, but then she smothers them.
How are we seeing this with Olivia? What are the specific behaviors?
Look at the closed psychic system she builds. We mentioned it before. She actively blocks the fathers. She turns the kids against the ex-husband. She creates a world where she is the sun, and the children are satellites locked in her gravity. There's no other force.
And because she pushed the fathers away, there is no other gravity to pull them out into their own orbit.
Exactly. The father's role, archetypally, is to cut the umbilical cord. The father is the other. He represents the outside world, society, rules, adventure. He's the one who says, hey kid, come with me, let's go explore the forest. Without that force, the child is swallowed by the mother's emotional sea.
They become, as the sources say, narcissistic extensions of her.
They don't exist as people in their own right. They exist as props in her play. Their purpose is to validate her, to need her.
And this connects to why she keeps getting pregnant. I mean, we have to ask, 6 kids, and she's effectively doing it alone. That is a staggering amount of work. Why keep adding more?
Because of what Jungians call the mana personality.
Mana, like in video games, magic points.
Actually, yes, that's a great way to think about it. The concept comes from anthropology. Mana is a supernatural force or power that can be found in people or objects. Jung argued that when we identify with a powerful archetype, we get a rush of mana. We feel larger than life. We feel magical.
So pregnancy gives her a high, a feeling of power.
It gives her what we call ego inflation. Think about how society often treats a pregnant woman. She is special. She is carrying life. She is, in a small way, a goddess. For a woman who feels empty and powerless inside, who feels she has no real identity, pregnancy is the ultimate costume.
She doesn't feel she is someone. She feels she gives birth to someone.
That's the key right there. It fills the internal void with external creation. When she is pregnant, she is the undisputed chieftain of her tribe. She has a brood. She has subjects who depend on her for their very existence.
It's power over love.
Where love is absent, power rushes in to fill the vacuum. If she can't have a partnership of equals, which terrifies her, she will settle for a dictatorship of dependence, which makes her feel safe and grand.
But the problem with children is they grow up. The mana fades. The magic wears off.
Right. And when the mana fades, when the baby starts walking and talking and saying no, the magical feeling evaporates. The child starts to become a separate person, and the emptiness returns for the mother. So what does she do?
She gets pregnant again. She hits the reset button on the magic.
Which brings us to section 4, the refusal to grow up.
The puella eterna, the eternal girl. Now, this one confuses me a bit. Olivia's mother of 6. She's dealing with diapers, court dates, incredible chaos. She seems like the opposite of a girl. She seems like a weary matriarch.
It's not about how hard she works or how old she is. It's about her psychological maturity. The Puella Eterna is the woman who refuses to enter the reality principle.
And the reality principle is just life is boring and hard and you have to pay bills.
Basically, yes. It's that life is gritty. Relationships require constant compromise. Stability requires staying put and dealing with the mundane, difficult problems of everyday life. Olivia doesn't do that. She cycles. She hits new game every 2 years with a new baby.
It's the fantasy of innocence.
Yes. Every time she gets pregnant, she gets to be in the beginning phase again, the hopeful phase. Every time she says, this is the last time, she is indulging in a fantasy. She believes that this baby will finally fix it. This baby will make her whole.
So she's chasing the beginning because the middle, the hard part, is too much.
It's an addiction to potential.
That's a great phrase.
Potential is safe. It's perfect. Reality is flawed and disappointing. By discarding the men, she also avoids the taming of her own impulses. If she had a stable husband living in the house, he might say, Olivia, we can't afford another baby. Or, Olivia, you need to stop screaming at the kids.
And she doesn't want to hear that. She can't handle that mirror being held up to her.
So she eliminates the voice of reality. She prefers to be the chaotic queen of a crumbling kingdom rather than a co-ruler in a stable democracy.
There was also a really interesting note in the sources about the hive instinct, the biological shadow driving this.
Yes. We have to remember, we are animals. We can't forget our biological programming. If the unconscious mind feels that the environment is unsafe, and remember for Olivia, men are the definition of unsafe, then the ancient primitive biology can take over.
And what does that biology say to do?
Biology says, diversify.
Hedge your bets, spreading the risk.
Exactly. Genetic diversity. From a cold evolutionary standpoint, if you have 6 kids by one man, and that man turns out to have a failed genetic flaw or is a poor provider, your entire lineage is at risk. But if you have 6 kids by 6 different men, you have hedged your genetic bets.
That is so cold and calculated.
It's not conscious calculation. It's a deep evolutionary impulse. It's the brood as a fortress. The children become a tribe that protects the mother. In a pre-civilized, pre-societal world, the male is a transient provider. He drops the seed and wanders off to get eaten by a tiger. But the mother and the brood remain. That's the only true family.
So Olivia is enacting a caveman script in the modern suburbs.
She's regressed to a pre-civilized structure where the matrilinear line is all that matters.
This all brings us to the ultimate why. Because we can describe the mechanism all day, the complex, the archetype. But unless Olivia is just a villain, which I don't believe, there has to be a cause. And this is where the sources talk about transgenerational trauma.
This is where we have to have some compassion for the person inside the pattern. We have to zoom out and look at the family soul.
The family soul, what does that mean?
It means we are not isolated individuals. We are the tip of a pyramid of ancestors. Their lives, their traumas, their unfinished business, it all flows down to us. The sources discuss this concept of the unlived life of the parent or grandparent.
So Olivia could be acting out a script written by her mother or her grandma.
Exactly. Imagine her grandmother. Let's say she was born in the 1940s or 50s. Maybe she was trapped in a miserable marriage she couldn't leave. Maybe she had to rely on a man for every dollar, every permission slip. Maybe she was abused or controlled.
And she just had to swallow that rage. She had no recourse.
She swallowed it. But where did that energy go? It doesn't just disappear. It went into the unconscious of the family line. It became a vow, an unspoken ancestral vow.
A vow that says what? Never again.
Never again will a man hold power over us. Never again will we be trapped. We will take what we need from them, the sperm, the money, the status, but we will never, ever bow to them.
So Olivia thinks she's making these choices in the moment. I'm blanking this guy, I'm choosing this hookup, but she's
a foot soldier. She is a vessel for that ancestral rage. She is fighting a war that her grandmother started. She is acting out the fantasy of female sovereignty that her ancestors could only dream of.
She's the avenging angel for her bloodline.
But she doesn't know it. That's the definition of a transgenerational haunting. She looks in the mirror and sees Olivia, but the eyes looking back are the eyes of her ancestors who felt they had to choose between motherhood and their own sovereignty.
And a real tragedy is she thinks she's free. She thinks she's powerful and independent.
She thinks she's independent, chanting, "I own my kids." But she's a prisoner. She's a prisoner of a trauma response passed down through generations. She is destroying her own happiness and her children's stability to satisfy a ghost.
And we have to talk about those children. Because this is where the rubber meets the road. This isn't just a psychological theory. We have 6 kids growing up in this man-free zone. Section 6. The consequences for the children.
This is the part that keeps psychologists up at night. The damage here is structural. It's deep.
Okay, let's start with the sons. She has a son, the one where she initially lied about the paternity. What happens to a boy growing up in this system?
Think about the constant, unspoken messaging he receives. Men are bad. Men are unreliable. Men leave. Men hurt mommy. But he is a male. His very nature is being defined as the enemy.
So he feels like he's the enemy, inherently bad.
He creates what we call a shadow self. He learns that his own masculinity, his aggression, his drive, his independence is dangerous. So he suppresses it. He represses it. He becomes the devotional slave to the mother.
The nice guy. Mama's boy.
The ultimate good boy. He tries to be the one man who will never leave mommy, never hurt mommy. He rejects his own drive. He becomes a pure eternus, an eternal boy. He can't launch into his own life.
Because launching means becoming a man. And in his family system, men are bad.
Exactly. And if he ever tries to form a relationship with another woman and leave, the mother will likely view it as the ultimate betrayal. After all I sacrificed for you. It's a terrible trap.
And the daughters, what happens to them?
The daughters have a different but equally damaging fate. They don't reject the mother. They identify with the aggressor. They look at mom and see where the power lies. Mommy is the queen. Men are the servants, the tools, the ones you discard.
So they are primed to repeat the cycle.
They are. They learn that female power comes from the ownership of children. They learn to use their sexuality as a trap, not as a bridge to connection. They grow up in a psychic desert regarding a masculine. They don't know how to relate to men as equals because they've never seen it modeled.
It's identity suffocation. That's the term from the source material.
It is. Without the third point, the triangle of mother, father, child collapses into a straight line. Just mother, child. There is no space to breathe. The child is swallowed.
So bringing this all home, this has been a heavy one. We've gone from the chaotic details, the blocked calls, the lies, the vasectomy twist, all the way to the deep archetypes of the great mother and the father complex.
It's what one of the sources called a matriarchal mystery gone wrong. Olivia is on a quest for wholeness. That's the deep irony in all of this. She desperately wants to feel whole.
But she's trying to achieve it by amputation, by cutting off half of the human experience.
She's trying to create a world without the other. And you cannot have wholeness without integration. Jung talked about the conjunctio, the sacred marriage.
The inner marriage of masculine and feminine.
Yes. The goal of life, in this view, is to marry the masculine and feminine inside yourself, to become a complete person. If you try to do it externally by using other people as props and then discarding them, you just create wreckage.
So for the listener who is hearing this and maybe recognizing parts of it, maybe not to this extreme, but some of the patterns, what is the takeaway? The sources talk a lot about individuation.
Individuation is the process of waking up. It's the process of becoming an individual, separate from your complexes and your family programming. Jung had that famous quote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate."
I feel like we should just tattoo that on our foreheads.
It applies to everything. Olivia calls her life fate. She says, "Why do I always meet losers? Why is my life so hard?" She sees herself as a victim of bad luck.
But it's the script. The unconscious script.
It is the unconscious directing the entire show. The only way out is to stop the play, to turn on the house lights, look at the script in your hands and say, wait a minute, I don't have to hate men just because my grandmother did. I don't have to own my children to feel valid as a person.
It's breaking the ancestral vow.
It is the hardest thing a human being can do,
Oh.
to betray the family soul in order to save your own soul.
So here's a final thought for everyone to chew on as we wrap up. We look at a situation like Olivia's and we see drama. We see a mess. But if we zoom out, are we seeing a generation of Olivia's? Are we seeing a society where the war between the sexes has gone cold and the battlefield has simply moved into the nursery? How many of us are fighting wars that ended 50 years ago using our children and our relationships as soldiers without even knowing it?
That is the terrifying question we have to ask.
Deep stuff today. Thank you for walking us through this labyrinth.
Always a pleasure to explore the shadow.
And to our listeners, stay curious, stay conscious, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.
So tell me, what do you think? What do you think about this deep dive into the psyche of Olivia? I thought they made some very valid points. In fact, I think they were spot on based off the information that I provided. So again, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this deep dive? And does it really explain Olivia? Does this sound like the Olivia that we all know? I'm really considering putting Strong Mommy Chrissy, Jasmine, Sky's World or Sky's Life, whatever she calls herself, some of the other mommies out here through this blender, if that's what you want to call it. So let me know, who do you want to take a deep dive on next? And like this particular dive that I just did is focused in on these mommies and why they move the way they do. So again, if you like this type of content, please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel. Until the next time I upload, have a great day. Bye now.